Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Fortress of Solid Dudes. Yes, we are back. We're finally back. Who knew that having a child and getting ready for that and
put such a damper on production.
I know.
60 hours of work a week in life.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew? So guys, if you haven't seen by the title, we are going to talk about Avengers Endgame. And we're gonna spoil some. We're gonna do some spoilers. We're gonna hit you guys with some non-spoilers for those who haven't seen it, and then we'll put a little spoiler bar or something. I'll fix it in post. We'll put it somewhere.
Okay, so we'll start off kind of just generalize, and then we'll get into the details of it.
Cool. So this is the 23rd or 22nd film. This is a culmination of 11 years in the making, which is insane. Started back in 2008 with Jon Favreau's Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, still stands up. So let's talk about Endgame. It felt like a solid sequel to Infinity War, yet it was a very standalone, which I'm glad they didn't call it
originally part two.
Yeah, part two. It had its own thing, and I wasn't a big fan of the name at first because I feel like I could have done a little more creative with the name. But ultimately, turned out to be a fantastic film. So, Matt, general ideas, without spoiling anything, what were your thoughts?
I thought, given the grandness of the scope and the stakes that were raised from Infinity War, I had no idea how this movie was going to possibly bring it all together in a way that would be satisfying to the degree that we expect now from Marvel. We expected this, I think, to be their best movie, would you say? I mean,
yeah.
The hype
was hyped as that.
It was hyped, so I mean, personalities vary. This was going to be their best movie, their magnum opus. I think it was. I think it was way better than Infinity War in terms of cohesion and keeping characters into it.
Yeah.
There's not much to say without spoiling it, except it met my expectations. It exceeded them. Not a flawless movie, but a damn good one. And I'll hand it off to Jairus for some thoughts on that.
I am not a huge fan of all the Marvel movies. I think there are certain ones that are really good and some that are really terrible, which is not a popular opinion because a lot of people think that everything that Marvel cranks out is awesome. It still followed the Marvel's formula for blockbuster success that has worked. They have that mass market appeal with these movies, and this followed suit. But I think it was the best of the movies that they've done that with in recent history. I mean, I'd still prefer certain other Marvel movies to this one, but I think that as far as doing these group superhero movies, this is about as good as anyone has. It's definitely as good as anyone has done to this point. I mean, it really was a very good movie. I went in with very low expectations and was pleasantly surprised.
That's the best way to do it. Yeah,
really
go in low. I couldn't help it. I went in with
super
high expectations.
It usually burns me.
Like adrenaline, and you get burned on it half the time.
Every time.
This one paid out.
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion on it, it was fantastic. I think I've just been so invested, and I'm sure some of you guys watching this have just been invested since day one, since 2008. So it's been 10 years plus. I was like 14 when I saw Iron Man with my cousin in our local theater, and then Hulk was like with my parents. So like these have been like important parts in my childhood that I still remember fondly, who I went and watched it with. But yeah, it was a beautiful story that wrapped up a lot of story arcs within that 3 hours that I feel like we needed it. I will say I watched it 3 times.
Nice.
It was, and rewatching it. The first time was hype. The second time you see how it's a slow burn as opposed to Infinity War, which is all action. But it never feels slow. It like gradually builds up and then it pays off. Now let's get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Because I gotta explode with the things. So yes.
Spoiler time.
Spoiler time. You've been warned. Go watch it.
Well,
all right. So here we
spoiler
go.
Alert. Here we go.
From the beginning, this movie starts it off with Hawkeye. His family. He's shooting. He's a family man, and then his kid disappears.
We know.
And then his entire family disappears. And oh my god, like
It's
what
very quiet.
yes,
They start the film very quietly, and then they have this very emotional moment for just him, so that it brings you back to what has just happened with Thanos.
correct.
I thought that it set the start of the movie so well.
Yes.
Because it you knew at that point that there was going to be a lot of story going on for all these characters, showing what they had gone through, what this meant to them. Which anytime you have these big, huge blockbuster superhero movies and they don't do that, it's just okay, something really terrible happened and they're going to fix it, and you don't care. In this, they started out right away with making sure you were invested and that you cared what was going to happen in the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an incredible start to the movie. If they hadn't done that, I don't think I would have
Been
cared.
that invested.
Yeah.
I love the opening with that Mr. Fantasy playing. You know,
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
gotta
Is
get
that
that
like-
almost like a James Gunn opening.
I
You
never
know,
cared about Hawkeye. I always thought his character was dry. I mean, maybe I just never paid attention to it too much. But after that happened in the beginning, I was like, I really want to see what happens to Hawkeye now,
Yeah.
because he loved his family and his kids and his wife, and they're all
Yeah.
there. And
Because of
It's
Age
wonderful,
of Ultron,
and
and it's these arcs that continue going.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a subtle thing that they did was the Russos directed that scene where he's like frantically trying to find his family on by like it was like handheld. So he's like running, and then the camera
Yeah.
person's like bouncing around with the camera. And,
Right.
like it made it feel real.
That,
Like you were
right.
there.
That panic.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not married, I don't have kids, but I
I
mean,
would be-
it kind of the way they filmed that scene. Even if you are not in the situation that he's in, it gave you the ability to think like, "Wow, what if that did happen to me?"
Yeah.
Like
Anxiety.
everything that's important to you in
Exactly.
your life, what would you do? He had no idea what had happened, and him freaking out, going, "Why did my family just disappear? What is going on?" I mean, then you realize that's happened all over the world, and everybody has gone through this, and now everybody that has the ability to try to make a difference is going to have to try to make a difference, no matter what it takes, and try
Yeah.
to reverse
Whatever
that.
it takes.
Like
yeah,
the-
I mean that
and
is
that was like-
perfect. Whatever it takes.
that was like I said, setting up the movie with that initial scene like that made a huge difference for me, because that's the feeling that I got immediately, and I feel like they could have run 30-40 minutes into the movie and not convinced me to give a shit, and they did in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
But yeah, so after that, I mean, we get the end credit, the title screen, you know,
Mhm.
Avengers Endgame, and then it cuts to Nebula and
Yeah.
Tony Stark.
Paper football, baby. And then we all know what was happening next when you see the flare,
Yeah.
the Phoenix flame, or whatever you want to call it. And lo and behold, it's everybody's most divisive superheroine, Captain Marvel, who
Not a
is just
fan.
out policing random parts of our universe, trying to deal with the mess, clean up the mess that
Yeah.
Thor has made on planets that don't have the Avengers.
Thanos.
So
What would you say?
He said Thor.
Oh god! Well, Thor made a mess too.
yeah, we'll get into Thor's mess, but thank you for correcting me. Yeah.
boy, Thor.
That was a
actually-
Freudian slip because Thor fucking pissed me off.
No, Thor did the heel toe.
So yeah, so the Galactic Police Force, known as Captain Marvel, finds out.
Yeah, so we get Tony back. They meet up. We see that Pepper lived through the snap.
Way sooner than I thought.
Yeah, so we have the original Avengers, and there's that dialogue of Tony and Cap, and I love that dialogue
He
where
is
where-
still pissed.
Yeah, he is pissed because he was like, "Did you fight him?" Or I fought him, and he's like, I lost a kid, and you feel that Tony tried his best, ended up losing Spider-Man, and then just half of the universe got snapped
It's
away.
some of that displaced anger. He's like, if we would have signed the damn accords, we would have had the armor
Exactly,
around the
the
world,
world.
which really wouldn't have made the difference.
No.
But I'm not going to tell him that when he's in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
Tony Stark gets down and he is fucking furious.
It's-
He wants nothing to do
It's a really good
with the
dialogue.
Avengers.
Correct.
Yeah, it's all of his anger and emotion and
Towards Steve, because he's like you said we would lose and we would do it together. What were you? You weren't there.
You weren't there.
And then that's what really got the Avengers disassembled in the first Infinity War, was the fact that Thanos dispatched them because they weren't together. They weren't working as a unit. They were just kind of, you had the secret Avengers, and then you had Tony and his crew, and then the Guardians showing up somewhere along the lines.
And then Wakanda as a backup.
Oh, yeah.
But it was, yeah.
But yeah. So after that, 5 years happen, and
What about Farmer Thanos?
I don't
We see
remember
him
all
kinda
of it. I
limping.
can't remember the whole movie chronologically.
Okay.
I think
that,
the first time we see him is he's limping, right?
Yeah,
He's limping up the stairs, and you immediately know that he's
the gauntlet is
messed up.
trashed.
Yeah.
The
and
stones
it's like
are nowhere.
cool. He's gonna die, and that makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like
Just
as much as they made him a relatable character in Infinity War, you definitely want to see him get killed in Endgame. But whenever they kill him that easily, it's kind of like, okay, I mean, something's gonna happen in the movie at that point. But at that point, you're like, all right, now they're really screwed.
Yeah,
Like
because
the Infinity Gauntlet's basically worth nothing.
Yeah.
Thanos is dead. They've
Stones
accomplished killing Thanos, but now, like, what do they do?
ooh, Jared, where are the Infinity Stones in this present? What happened to
They're
them?
gone. They were used up for him to.
He destroyed them.
I used the
Snap his
stones
fingers
to
or
destroy the stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
So it's like, all right, well, now they're just completely screwed. And then, when it starts going into the time travel thing, I mean, I was afraid it was going to end up being a really just cookie cutter time travel type movie thing. But with them using the quantum realm and how complicated it was, that was cool. Instead of just going, there's DeLorean,
yeah.
90 miles an
Yeah.
hour or whatever.
That was so great.
88, dog, 88.
That was so great. Back to the Future was bullshit. Pretty much everyone. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Hot Tub Time Machine.
A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Like time.
Rhodey's just naming them all. Rhodey
Die
was
Hard.
great in this. Can I just say Rhodey was amazing in this?
Tony has a family. Like
so
him and
happy
Pepper
for
are
him.
happy. He has a daughter. So that they basically Ant-Man comes out and he's like, hey, like I got an idea. Like I lived in the quantum realm. The snap happened. Nothing happened to me, and I've only spent 5 hours. In there.
5 hours.
Right. Yeah.
So he has.
Well,
this
to
insane-
rewind just a little bit,
Yeah.
when they go find Thor in New Asgard, and he's like drunk and hanging
Oh my
out,
God.
and
Put on a little
he's,
bit of weight.
he's all fat and all that. It was, I know some people that I've talked to about it thought that it was stupid that they took that direction with Thor, but I thought that he's been a really good character as far as like a character, but that brought like way more humanity to him because he has PTSD from what happened. Basically, I mean he's
watched him
heavily
die.
depressed. He's having a hard time dealing with the fact that he couldn't do something that he knew he had to do, and he's just unable to deal with it, and he just pulled back into his shell, and that's where they find him.
Yeah.
And as soon as they start trying to talk to him about it, they brought so much humanity to the character by doing it that way. Versus just having him be funny and a god and carefree, which is what he's always been before, which was cool because what's his name that plays the character does a really great job.
Chris
with that.
Hemsworth.
Yeah.
But then to watch him be that human in that moment when they find him brought another level to the character and makes you more invested in him, which is, they took these very small scenes with each character in this huge group movie and put them in at just the right time with enough space in between that you started to feel really invested with each individual character just within this movie. And I think that was one of the points that was really good. Now, they definitely did have a bunch of corny jokes.
Yeah.
I feel like all the jokes landed for me.
They did. Some of them I felt were just like, just goofy. And I was like, you could have done without like having a joke at that point, because if you've really got like some momentum going for something that's happening and then you throw a joke in, sometimes it pulls me out of the movie sometimes. And this is opinion. I mean, this is.
I wonder if it's a
everybody's
demographic issue because you got 12-year-olds singing it and 30 sit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like,
12
how do you appeal?
So
it's
jokes
like,
funny.
because I really like, to your point, what they did with Thor's character was that it's tinged with the comedy because it has to be, but they really showed, like, dude, when you suffer PTSD, it's like, he's a drunk, which really is not funny, right? You know what I mean? He's receded from he's an alcoholic. He doesn't care anymore really about anything that's going on. He has given
He wants
up
to hide.
and
He's
like
metaphorically and literally in the shell that is his house, and they're like, oh, if he leaves, he goes out on the ocean and he hides on the ocean for a month at a time, and then he comes back and he hides.
and he just has barrels of beer, and it's like that is a really dark place for anybody to be in.
Yeah.
You know, I know a lot of people have been in dark places in life, and that's
They make
Yeah,
it
he's just trying to act
But-
happy at that point, but as
so
soon as
we
they
can
bring it
take
up,
from
and
that.
it makes it so real.
Yeah.
and that's what I like is we were able to take away from that. Whereas for maybe the kids more, it's like, oh, Thor got fat because he lost, so he's drinking some beer.
Right, and it's
stuff like
funny,
that,
but if you're an adult and you understand what's going on, that part was really.
Yeah.
It was like a really
Shakes you.
short but very powerful part of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
I loved Korg in that. Like, because Taika Waititi, he is fantastic as Korg. And he's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Things in the bucket?
When I saw Korg, I almost had a tear of joy. I was just so glad. Was Meek sitting next to him?
Yeah, he's eating pizza.
And they're like,
"Oh, that new Master 69's back."
13-year-old kid, give me that.
This is Thor, God of Thunder. So, like, I love Korg. Anytime I can get Korg, I'm one of those people that I'm not a big fan of Ragnarok. The more I watch more movies with Thor in it, the more of a fan I'm becoming of Ragnarok. But Korg was still one of my favorite characters in that movie.
Absolutely.
Wearing his Tommy Bahama like shirt.
So good. At that point, it becomes a heist movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, we got 3 teams, we got 6 stones. You guys know what to do. You know your missions. Watch out for yourselves, and then off they go.
Mm-hmm.
And I died whenever they go back in 2012, and then the Avengers,
The Battle of New York.
the Battle of New York, and then we get that replay of the original 6 like lining up, Iron Man landing, and that move, that's still gas. It's still gas to this day,
yeah.
because it did it for me.
Bright colors pop. There's
Yeah.
such a different tone. It's almost like Harry Potter 1 and Harry Potter 2. You
Yes.
know what I mean? It's like by this point, and not trying to compare them, but I'm saying like one's a kids movie. By the time you get to Endgame, it's you know what I mean? The bright
bright
suits are
colors,
gone.
exactly.
I want to talk about real quick when Professor Hulk
Oh
goes
my
back
God.
and they see the Hulk from 2012 just standing there smashing the shit out of a car for like 20 seconds just because he can, doesn't he? He's like, and then you're like, you might have to smash a few things. He's like, ah. And he doesn't quite know what to do. He's like, throws the car like a couple feet. He's like, ah. Professor Hulk was great.
I
so
liked
good.
him. I think a lot of people's gripe with this movie is like, oh, you ruin Hulk and you ruin Thor. I don't think so. I think it's character development. I still think that Hulk peaked in the first Avengers. Like, that's my favorite Hulk.
Oh yeah, he was the strongest. He was just brutal.
Savage.
And
exactly. This Professor Hulk was fine. I don't feel like he did a whole lot muscle-wise.
No,
He didn't do much muscle-wise.
Well,
it was all about
it was
him
all
being
brain.
smart.
You've
this
seen the last
time
battle
also.
a couple times. Does he do any? Cause I don't even remember. Really
He just
seeing him.
runs.
He just kind of runs.
Yeah,
and-
but again, he was out one arm, so
That's
you
true.
You can only do so
Yeah,
much.
you almost
with
can't.
one
Right, and when you have all
Right.
these other people that have all these other abilities that are going to be really cool and cinematic to do, all packed into one movie, having Hulk run around just going smash,
Yeah.
smash with one hand like he's playing, whack-a-mole, it's not going to be nearly as interesting. I feel like that's why they didn't have a whole lot of action with him, because you've seen Hulk smash
That's
so
true.
much.
He's smashed. It's not.
So we move on. So they go to the Battle of New York. They get the gems, and Loki escapes. So he gets a hand on the Tesseract and then just disappears. And I was like, oh shit.
Does his Loki thing.
Yeah, he just like teleports.
And isn't addressed again though. I don't think.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't think so. So the way it's because of time travel movies. So you either have an alternate timeline, or somehow him disappearing ends up him giving Thanos a Tesseract, therefore still keeping the linear timeline.
Still keeping everything as
Exactly.
Well, no, because, what did they do then? They went and got more Pym particles so that they could get the Tesseract
So they went back.
back in
Yeah,
time.
Correct.
Because they weren't.
So
able to
then,
do it
basically, what would happen is if they went back and got the Tesseract and then returned it to that time period, would it mean that what happened there, where Loki got the
Still
Tesseract,
happened.
never would have happened though?
No.
Because
No, it would have happened because it would have been the present would have then become the past, which is on
Yeah.
change.
So it still would have happened because Cap still went back and put him in that exact tank.
Because they said any time that you would do something that would change the course of history by taking the stones, if you went back and you returned
the
them,
ancient one. Was
that
explained?
would keep a split off from occurring. So as long as they returned the Tesseract back then, they would be fine, and that wouldn't be a split off. But there would be
Well,
a split to create an alternate
2012. Loki.
an alternate reality when Loki takes the Tesseract,
And
because that shouldn't have happened.
And I think that's what Disney's planning with their Disney Plus.
Okay.
Because they never addressed it, but Loki's getting his own solo show.
So Loki is gone, but 2012 Loki
It's somewhere out there.
is somewhere out there in
Exactly.
2012.
Yeah.
And
So
okay.
I think that's what
Okay,
their
so it
whole
is supposed
plan.
to be a split for that.
I think that's what their ultimate plan is, for him to have his spin-off from that alternate timeline, and that way he's still technically alive.
I enjoyed the Ancient One. During the Battle of New York, you find out
he was there.
Stephen Strange is 5 years from coming to me. He's actually doing surgery like down
20
that way.
blocks,
Right.
You know, I guess he must have a steady hand with all that shit going on. But
that's pretty.
that was really cool how she explained the split off. And then what did Professor Hulk say? He's like, Strange gave him the stone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the Ancient One just.
She's supposed to. She's like.
Strange is the best of us.
Exactly. He's supposed to be the best.
So she's kind of think the wheels are turning. So I thought that was really cool when she did the punch. It knocks it, you know?
I thought she was gonna split the Hulk from Bruce.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get the Professor Hulk and the split in one movie.
Just
That's
the
insane.
Rage Hulk. Yeah.
That's insane.
But I thought it was really cool because you realize that some of these movies were taking place at the same time.
Linear,
in a very linear way, and just were able to show it. So
Yeah.
that was just. I love seeing the Ancient One again. I thought that was a really cool.
So we then move on to 2014, 12, 14. Yeah, 13. They go to 13 to Thor's world, Dark World.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
the Dark Elves were
there you go.
because Jane Foster had the ether in her, which is the Reality Stone.
Yeah, so they sent Thor and Rocket into that one. And I think that was probably one of the most important. It's cool how they made one of the most irrelevant movies and just forgettable, and especially Thor's mom, so relevant to like that speech that he has with her and how she's like, you know, be who you're meant to be, not be who you're supposed to be. If that, something along those lines. It's nothing. It's not verbatim. Trust me, I saw it 3 times. Not verbatim.
No, I believe that is what it is.
But something along those lines.
He needed to hear that from her if there was any chance of him coming back as any type of hero.
Exactly.
Because he was shattered.
But
you know,
he did that
because
pick me up.
he killed Thanos. Should be feeling good. Didn't change anything.
Exactly.
Didn't change anything.
Right.
And his
because
mom
it didn't change what had happened that had caused him to be that way. And then when his mom said, you know, now, you know, this has happened, it was bad, but it's time for you to be who you need to be, not who you feel like you should be at this point. Because he felt like he should be ashamed of himself for not doing anything, and his mom basically gives him like a very short but poignant pep talk.
Yes.
And it's like exactly what he needs to hear to realize that he needs to, you know, pull himself up by his bootstraps or whatever the saying
get back
is.
into it. Yeah, exactly. You know, you got to pick yourself off. You got knocked down, and you got to get up again.
Yeah, and he has to do it. He has to. And I think he realizes at that point. I mean, I feel like he had a lot of really good scenes.
Yes,
in this movie.
Which
is why I was like, I don't know why people are upset about how Thor was in
Endgame
this
is a
movie
better
because...
Thor movie than the first 2 ones were.
There's so much more character development, and then we get that's the. And he's like, what am I supposed to look at? Just give him a second.
Sometimes it takes a minute. That was so badass.
That's
like,
so cool. I'm still worthy. Yes. And then it cuts, and then it goes into 2014. 2014, Guardians of the Galaxy. So they go to Morag, where Star-Lord gets the, what is it? The orb.
Yeah, was that the Power Stone? Yeah, I think.
Yes, you're right. The Power Stone, the orb. And that's where things start getting... Like that's where they get compromised with Nebula and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, the dual nebulas is where the issues come in.
Exactly. Otherwise, I think they would have been fine. But other than that, that was a fairly easy mission for them. Besides Nebula, now the ones that are screwed were Hawkeye and Black Widow and Vormir.
I know. Didn't you want to reach through and tell them?
Yeah.
Like. Maybe if you go and bring a puppy you really love. Now it's
Dude,
very bad.
I forgot. I thought the whole point was that you have to give up something that you really care about,
but they do because their relationship.
They do love each other.
Yeah,
in a platonic way.
It's a very brother-sister relationship.
Right. I just didn't think that was going to be enough because, like, when Thanos does it, it's his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's more.
Exactly. But this, I think,
it's like if I went there with you and I was like, oh, I can get one of the stones kicking Fern in.
Damn.
Like,
unreal.
And can't be
unreal.
You do the same thing to me.
Listen, man.
I'm like, if they both fall, I don't know what that, because I'm like, I don't want either one to die. Maybe they'll both fall, and the stone will be like, you both sacrifice each other, and you both get it.
Red Skull.
Yeah.
So
he's just like, oh, stone's mine now. It's like they did it both, and then he gets it, and he's like, oh, I'm out of here. Like, maybe
Boromir just disappears.
Yeah, this is mine now.
But yeah, we got Black Widow's death. I didn't think it impacted me at all. Maybe because it sounds terrible, but I think the fact that I didn't care for her death was, I mean, we're obviously in spoilers, is the fact that Tony dies. And it's having such a minor character, and then right after that, such a major character died.
Yeah, I feel like they've done a lot of character development with her in past movies, but I still just didn't care about her character. And I feel like the girl, I can never remember that girl's name.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. I feel like she does a good job of playing that character.
Natasha, yeah, she does.
You know, and I think she's good. I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah, some of that's the writing, I think. But I mean, ultimately, if you look at all the movies, she was kind of the glue of the Avengers.
Yeah.
She tamed the Hulk, right?
Yes.
She mind control Hawkeye, brought him back by smacking his head against. I mean, but she was always there, even when Civil War was going on. Was to she wasn't playing both sides because she genuinely just wanted to see the Avengers together because that was her only family.
Yeah.
Other people have had a chance at a family. Iron Man had Pepper, and. Well,
Steve had Bucky.
Yeah, they at least had somebody, but she was generally, if there were not an Avengers mission or initiative going on, then she was on her own. This was her family. So she fought so hard to keep them together. And for her to make the sacrifice for them to be able to be ultimately successful, I think it's lost because you're right. They don't develop her enough in any of the past movies to the point where you're like, I mean, I was sad, but I wasn't Tony Stark sad.
I wasn't crying.
And that's not to take anything away, but, you didn't have a Black Widow 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly.
With having the Spider-Man scene in the previous movie, that was super powerful. So they've got you have all these things fresh on your mind when you watch the movie. So I think they knew what they had to make very powerful and what they couldn't try to really dress up.
Too much,
we can't do too much for this because otherwise we have to do that much more for this scene because we know what we want to make an impact at what point in the movie.
Yeah.
Because after a while, if they continued to do that with people dying or stuff happening, you'd be like, okay, you'd get emotionally tired.
You're just exhausted
from that continuing to happen in the movie, and with it being 3 hours long, I think they knew they couldn't just do that.
Yeah, I talked to Brent about it, and on our way actually Thursday night to see it, I was like, one of my fears was she was going to die because her arc was, in my eyes, done.
Right.
She didn't have closure, but in essence, there was nowhere else to go.
There's a tragedy that she really was never going to get it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But we're getting a Black Widow spinoff. So
yeah.
I hope they do the Budapest because every time
where they hint to it,
that's twice now that they she and Clint have that. This isn't the same thing. Budapest.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that '90s movie that they have is a Budapest.
Get a prequel with
2000, whatever, early 2000s.
And then when we watch Endgame after the TV show, we'll cry more.
Yeah, we'll cry more because we'll care.
What's
up?
That Tesseract part. That was one part of the movie that I really didn't like. Was the Tesseract part when Tony has the Tesseract in the case and he's walking and Rage Hall comes through the door. Or what is it? Smashes open the elevator door, or whatever. He smashes the door open, he smacks him, and the thing goes flying. I hate that type of stuff in movies, and this is just personal opinion. It wasn't a bad part of the movie. I just don't like those type of things where it's like if you were just paying attention, or if there had just been this thing that was slightly different.
It's too happenstance.
It's just so frustrating, and it's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You're going to do that right now? I hate that frustrating type of stuff. That was one part of the movie that I didn't like, but it set up that whole go back, get the Pym particles, all that kind of stuff. And it was necessary. It was just the way it was done was very slapstick frustration type, and that... I was come on. That whole sequence for them to get the stone, and it was all Ocean's 11,
this heist,
we're getting this thing, and we're going to, screw them out of it, and they're not even going to know that we're stealing it from them kind of thing, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he screwed up because he got hit by a door. It's like, dude, come on, this was so perfectly planned out, and then that happens, that really frustrates me. I hate when they do that in movies, but that, like I said, that's totally just a personal opinion. It doesn't mean that that's a bad part of the movie. That's just something that I really don't like when they do that.
Yeah, when they take that way out. It's
So,
funniest part real quick, Vern, I'll turn it to you. Elevator scene with Cap, and you remember Winter Soldier when he's in that fight, and this time he avoids the fight altogether. Hail Hydra. When he did that, to avoid the fight, he's like, trust me, Hail Hydra. And then they just hand him the briefcase.
And it was such a cool callback to what was it?
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier for the elevator scene, but a couple years ago that maybe it wasn't even a couple years ago. It was that comic book where Captain America was Hydra. It was a cool little nod to the super the comic book fans. It was a cool way of tying that Hydra Cap
Right.
It's cool they threw that in for you guys. For us, we were like, oh, it's the movie. For you guys,
oh,
you're like, oh, I got that story.
Hey,
Yeah.
bang, 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 bang. So they get all the gems, and then they go back to the lab, and then they fashion their own gauntlet.
Yeah, because a human cannot possibly wield this thing
Exactly.
without dying.
So then the Hulk, that's where like he did most of the stuff where he's like, I was basically, this is, shooting out gamma radiation. I was basically made for this, and then he just snaps.
And it kicked the shit out of him.
Oh my god, I almost killed him.
Yeah.
So he does the snap, brings everybody back.
It's magic.
Yeah,
It's
magic. It's a movie. It's a movie magic, baby. It's the biz. It's the biz. So while this is all happening, Gamora brings out, or Jesus Christ, I keep calling it
it's hard to
Nebula. Brings back 2014 Thanos, and his ship just blows right through the
So we have
the
Nebula.
compound. Yeah, Nebula.
Oh my god, when they attacked the fucking compound, I lost my shit.
Dude, I thought
That was
everyone
cool.
died.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
That was cool.
That was sick.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So
Which
you
reminds
just,
me why Nebula 2014 is a bitch.
she
I can't
is.
stand her.
She definitely is.
2019 though.
She always has that underlying humanity in her character, though. Even
Not-
in the old one, she always had a little bit of underlying humanity.
Yes.
Because she always had to think about, like, she didn't just go, oh no, I'm going to kill you, or whatever. Like, she always would consider what they were saying. You knew that she was working it out.
That is true.
And I always felt like that was really cool that they did that, back when, so that in this movie she could be what she was. I think that's one of the reasons that I thought this movie was good, because that they have these little character things that make you invested and really make you relate to these people and care what really happens. And that's like an example of a small character that they took the time and thought to do that with, so that you care what's going on there also, I think we should talk about some of the parts of the movie that were stupid, though, too. There's two things that I thought were just terrible in the final fight. I thought they were stupid, and it totally pulled me out of the movie, and I was like, why would they do that?
Don't worry, we'll edit him out.
But
Just
up until that point,
scribbles.
they had a lot of fan service shots. Like when the teams are suiting up and stuff, they did these really stupid cliche like fan service shots where it's like they're getting suited up, and it's like it was like worse than cartoony sometimes when they did that for me. And I was like, they're about to do it, like especially when they get their time suits on right before they go.
Oh, okay, before the first time when they go to do it, the white and red. Okay.
And they're all like standing there, and they've got this real cinematic shot of like everybody all
standing
teamed up, about to go, and it's like, we know they're gonna do that. Why did you do that shot? Like that was so.
I needed that.
It was so corny. I know.
Then listen,
And it's personal preference.
Yeah.
It didn't fit in the movie. Like cinematically, that shot gave you nothing for the story. It just. That's what I mean by it was fan service. If you're really invested in those characters, it's really cool to see that. Here they go, they're about to do it. But at the same time, it doesn't fit with the story, and it was like an awkward shot because you had like a dialogue scene where the camera's going from person to person, and then all of a sudden it's like breaks into epic music, everybody's suited up, and they're all getting ready to go do their thing, and it was like, okay, that was super, super cliche and corny.
I think they overplayed it a little bit.
They did that sometimes in this movie, and it wasn't just that time. I can't remember some other ones specifically, but it was like they would do that, and it was like you pull me out of the movie when you do it. Right before we started the podcast, Fern and I have a pretty big disagreement. I can't stand Chris Evans as an actor, and he really likes him as an actor, thus I hate Captain America. Now, the first Captain America movie I really liked.
I'm snapping you out.
No, they played to Chris Evans' strengths as an actor in the first Captain America. He didn't cry, and he wasn't like upset about anything, and they didn't try to do anything. Like they made him
militant.
He was militant, and he cared, and they did a good job with that. And they've tried to have him be like, oh, I'm torn up about not having this girl that I really like that I met for, this amount of time, and now I haven't seen her for years and years, but I still really miss her, and she's old and I'll never get to be with her or whatever. Like they keep trying to play on that, and every time there's a sad scene, they'd like get right on his face, right up on him, and
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
He's supposed to look sad, and he looks like he's just doing. And he looks like he's trying to put on a puppy dog face. And I feel like it's such a terrible.
He gets me.
I feel like he's so bad in those parts. Just don't film him in a sad part. Let him be Captain America, and that's it. Because he doesn't have the
Happy America.
Tony, you can't tell me that the parts with Robert Downey Jr. and Spider-Man or any other time where he's upset, those are like powerful, moving scenes.
Yeah.
Whenever they had a powerful, moving scene and Captain America was there, it was like, oh, he's sad. Because he can't do anything else. I feel like he doesn't have that range as an actor to be able to pull those emotions out and do that. Like, in the one scene, it was right after Black Widow falls.
Okay.
He's sitting there, and they put a fake tear on him. You don't see the tear come out of his eye. There's just a wet streak down his face, and I was like, he's so garbage.
This guy just hates
They
that.
put a tear on him.
Listen,
He's so terrible.
this guy-
They put a tear.
I completely understand Jarrus, because Jarrus is essentially me with Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
Okay.
How much, like, it doesn't matter what
And I
she
haven't
does.
seen Captain Marvel, so I
she's-
don't have an opinion on her whatsoever.
It's solid.
She's still a garbage actress. Man, shut up. Shut up, Matthew. Still a garbage actress. Anyways, let's move on to the final fight scene.
I'm gonna snap myself out of existence.
See the gauntlet drop. I used the map to erase the mat.
See you 2023.
So, the
All right,
explosion.
so-
The explosion happens. Everybody kind of gathers himself up, and then you see Thor waiting for Thanos, just sitting there, waiting for somebody to bring him the.
When he says it,
gauntlet.
you go get it. I'm waiting.
What are you gonna do? Nothing. Just wait.
It makes me wonder why he even needed the Infinity Gauntlet in the first movie.
He was
Because he
scary.
fucks them up.
He was scary, and this is like 2014. Like, I feel like it was a prime Thanos,
Yeah, like
as opposed to
he's
like.
been working out.
Well,
right?
how long is
Yeah.
he supposed to have been going through the universe, like, searching for the stones, doing all
He
this
says,
stuff?
"Fine, I'll do it myself." At the end of
No, but I mean, like, how
Was it
long has he
Ultron?
been searching and doing all this stuff? It's
for
been like
years.
it's been like
Years,
thousands of years, right?
But
the battle in New York was kind of the.
I don't know how.
I mean, he could have just run around the earth and chopped everybody with his double
guess
sword
double
thing.
sword, like the boomerang shit that he.
Yeah,
Catches
I mean, he
back.
could have just gone around and killed everybody in the amount of time he was trying to get that thing so he could snap his fingers.
Yeah, but it's a universe though.
Right. I guess it did happen to the universe.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Not just Earth, but
I think this is where you get shades finally of maybe a comic book Thanos, and we're not touching the comic books. But up until this point, he's been very intelligent, very emotional, and he has so much depth to him. And I think,
Right.
yeah, and so by the time when I saw Infinity War, I was like, I really love his character.
Yeah.
Like what they did with the cinematic version of Thanos was brilliant.
Yeah,
I thought it was so, like, I felt for him. I know why he's doing what he is. I don't agree with it, but I mean, but you can understand, but I'm like, man, and the complexities, and he's talking about, I've lost so much, and they're like, no, you haven't, they're like, this guy's, he's so deep,
Yeah.
he's so deep. And 2014.
well,
man,
and
I
he
was-
feels like he has a broad picture of what needs to happen. And that's what makes this conflict
He had a master
so
plan.
engaging, because he wholeheartedly believes that what he is doing is right, that this needs to occur,
Yeah.
because he can see the bigger picture of what's going on in the universe, and he's saying, you guys don't understand, this is what needs to happen, and I'm going to do whatever it takes fighting you to make it happen.
Yeah.
And they're going, we're not going to let you do it,
Yeah.
because it's going to hurt our feelings, because all these people that we like are going to die.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Come
fight
on,
you
man.
on it.
because
But
now,
that's realistically
Yeah,
like what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, and they fully explain that. So it's kind of like, I mean, if you're logical about it, you have to be on Thanos' side, because it's like he's saving the universe. They're just trying to save their friends, but you're more emotionally invested in somebody trying to save their friends than you are in somebody going, the whole universe needs saved by wiping out half of the life because there's too many people or things or whatever.
And
There's
the
too much
thing
life
that
there.
I think his pride got him in that one, because he's like, this time I'm wiping you all out. That's why he had to win
Right.
the gauntlet. And I'm like,
Then he became a true bad guy.
yeah, because he's like, apparently this universe is not grateful for what I gave you.
Yeah.
You should all be feasting. The planet's, now there's enough food for everybody. There's money, resources. Everybody should be happy. And you guys are still coming after me. He's like, all right, fuck you. I'm going to kill all of you and just
Right.
start a new
Yeah.
universe.
No, that's fair. I just, oddly enough, I'm just not, a fan of genocide.
No,
Yeah.
right.
But
It's a hard sell, man. It's a hard
you
sell.
know.
It's
You
kind of
know
like
what?
saying, I mean,
You know
it's
what?
kind of like,
So all I got from here is Jarrus and Matt whisper Hell Hydra to each other.
We actually, when I was living in Vegas, my friends and I would sometimes go up to like random Walmart employee. We actually do this. We just be like, "Oh, Hydra," and we just walk along like nobody ever got it.
So we got to fight a battle. Thanos is waiting for these guys, and we get the power up of Thor, which I thought he was gonna power up and like shred Whenever like Mjolnir and then Stormbreaker comes in,
I'm pretty sure electricity could shed some of those crap, you know.
Because I thought I was like, oh, he's just fat because he's like in his normal form, like his human form.
Like as a
instance.
god, can't
exactly.
Just, like,
so I
will
thought
himself.
exactly. I thought he was just like whoomp, whoomp, and then like shredded. But anyway, when that scene happened where he grabbed both of them, the crowd lost their mind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was, and then it was just like epicness of the big three against Thanos, and they're going back and forth, and you get those cool callbacks. So like the first Avenger, whenever like Thor lights Iron Man up, and he gives him like more juice. Yeah,
Juice me
like,
up, Thor.
he's like juice me up, and I was like, oh, that's such a cool callback to the first Avengers.
That was really cool.
So
and Mjolnir has more than one. More than one, allegiance to more than one now.
Exactly.
There's another who is worthy of wielding the hammer.
So when that scene happened, I cried.
Fucking yelled. I yelled.
I screamed too.
I was like, oh!
The crowd
much louder than that, though. I think.
Like, so if you guys haven't watched it, you're still
still
the
following
two,
this?
the two that have tuned in still here. Thank you. But anyways, whenever that hammer, first of all, it lands, and then you just see Thanos just almost kill Thor, and it just
shit out of him.
It just smacks Thanos, and it comes back, and it flies past Thor, and Cap holds it. I cried.
I knew it was coming.
I cried.
I knew it was.
Yeah.
Dude, and when he's like tagging off the both, he's like what? He's like
The
throwing the shield
shield
and then balance and then banging the
hammer off.
the hammer off of that. We
It was
were talking
awesome.
about that with our
It was
physics.
awesome.
I was like, man, fuck physics. This kicks ass. Like, he was tearing
It was
up.
really
It
cool.
was such a rewarding like scene because we got it from like Age of Ultron where he like nudges it.
The only
But if again, it's one of those things that if you're a hardcore fan and you read, I think it was 2014, they made a run called Fear Itself, and it's when like 12 hammers come down, and then eventually like Captain America grabs a hammer. He's like, Avengers assemble, and he has Thor's hammer. He becomes worthy. So we had that nod, and I had it. I told Brent.
Is that the only time in the entire MCU he says it?
Yes,
I think fine.
because
Yeah.
Age of Ultron at the very end, he's like Avengers, and then they cuts it.
And then we thought maybe in Infinity War they would get that, but there wasn't.
There wasn't anything.
And because so it's Cap is fighting one-on-one with Thanos. He's the only one standing right now.
Yes.
And he's
Shield
giving it all he got.
destroyed.
Shield destroyed, and he ends up falling too.
Yeah.
And then his shield shattered, and that's where we see the infamous. He's like, if I die, I'm gonna go down swinging.
Exactly.
So he tightens it up, and then at that moment,
Cap on your left.
all hell breaks loose. Yeah.
Oh
man.
On your left. That's.
I see sling rings all over the fucking place.
Kick ass, man. Listen, so anyways, the fan service, I agree. So the Avengers assemble, like right that scene right there when everybody strikes a pose, super cheesy. Doesn't matter. I loved it. Especially like Spider-Man, he's like doing the thing.
Yeah.
Star-Lord's like whipping his...
Spider-Man did so much cool stuff in that end fight, and all of it was consistent, and it was awesome.
Oh, all right. So see, bias.
I'll say one thing about the A-Force was my daughter loved it.
Oh yes,
So I mean,
dude. That
I think there is
rescue-
pressure from kind of
need that movie.
inclusion, diversity, all that, and
Social
I get-
pressures.
And I get so some of that is a pressure, but I will say this: when my daughter saw the Wasp, and when she's like, "Is that Iron Man?" and she saw Gwyneth Paltrow,
Yeah.
because she loosely follows. She's not seen all 22 movies, obviously, but
when Gwyneth
my
Paltrow
daughter.
had her suit on,
Yeah.
and the back of it opened up, did
Yeah.
that thing.
It was-
She looked like a Gundam, and I was like, "That's the coolest Iron Man
felt
suit.
awesome.
That's the coolest
them,
one."
Them back to back.
Yeah, it was
shooting.
exactly a Gundam. Yeah, but
Just sick. Just back
so
to back.
speaking as a father of a daughter, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously can't speak for her, but seeing her reaction, even when we went to see Captain Marvel, and she loved it. She was like, I was like, well, what'd you like about it? She's like, it was just cool to see more. She's like, it was cool to see girls up there kicking. Like she didn't say kick ass, but she's like, it was really cool to see the girls fighting. 'Cause it's always Captain America and stuff in there.
Right.
And I mean, she's young, and stuff. But I thought that was cool. If that did it for her and gave her inspiration, I'm like, hell yeah, you do it. Go girl.
But so let's talk about this.
But I get your point as well.
Right.
I
Right.
totally see where you're coming from.
It felt clunky. It
Yeah,
really did.
it really did.
It felt clunky because they just came out of nowhere.
Right.
But that scene,
Wait, you got her?
And then the wasp sizes up.
just like how, so let's get to let's wrap it up and then get to the final scene, which is the gauntlet. So they fight. He gets the gems. The Iron Man. He snaps and he's like his last line. I'm in. What is Thanos said? I'm inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And then Iron Man's like, I am Iron Man. And then he snaps. That was insane. The fact I was cool because I knew he was gonna die. Like there was no way he was gonna do the gauntlet and survive. And then whenever he's sitting there and Pepper's like we won, you could rest, and I was like, unfazed.
Yeah, because at the beginning it was
They
like
held
she
that
was
moment
like,
when he
would you be
says-
able to rest
Yeah,
if you didn't help them?
exactly.
You know, even
Right.
with the daughter. And
When he gets the gauntlet on and he says, I am, and he waits to say Iron Man, it was like, do it. Do it. Like, you want him to do it. You know he's going to die, but you're like, do it, because, like, otherwise somebody's going to come up and hit you, and then you're not going to be
the
able to
dog's
do
gonna
it or
come
something.
on.
Yeah. And then we're going to have another one of those really frustrating moments
Yeah.
or something, but
That doesn't
they
even
waited
do it.
just long enough that it put you, like, fully on the edge of your seat, and he's like, Iron Man. And you're like,
Yeah, but
they won!
I was
You know,
unfazed.
but-
I was unfazed by him like just laying there, and then Pepper's like, we did it, we won, you could rest, and then it just cuts to his arc reactor and it turns off.
when it goes,
and then I just like, just
Yeah, that was-
uncontrollably.
That
just
was
cried.
definitely a very emotional point in the
Yeah.
movie. I
I'm
mean,
like here now, like,
It's
damn,
like,
like
what?
your eyes got wet.
Okay,
Guaranteed.
I just-
I don't
My
think there was a
son-
person in there. I heard probably 3 or 4 people behind me at that moment.
Sniffling.
Like hardcore. Like,
that was my son,
Like-
and my son does not
like-
cry during movies.
Oh, really?
He wasn't like,
oh man.
but he,
And the people that were
but
sitting behind us were all adults. Like grown adults, and I heard people breaking down. Not just like a little bit of.
It was, yeah,
That,
it
like
was-
just
people
one
were
of those,
getting,
you okay?
getting
And he
really
looked at me.
emotional.
And he was just like, I mean, just looked at me, and I was like, it's okay, man.
you
That's
feel
like
that,
it-
man? That's lost.
I did, yeah. I was like,
That's how you know you've got the right actor playing the right
Yes.
part, and you did a
Oh,
good
yeah.
job in your movie. When you can break down a whole theater like that, that's
RDJ
that's
is a
something.
generational
And it-
talent too.
Exactly, and it was
He's just that good.
it was the fact that you exactly you had the right actor with like the right literal arc of the movie and life arc, where
Yeah.
like a redeeming arc where he's like he was a drug addict and he
Mm-hmm.
was in jail.
Yeah.
So the fact that Tony Stark was like a narcissistic, just like solo man,
Right.
arms dealer, and then he became a father to like essentially multiple kids because he was the father to that kid from Iron Man 3, which
Right.
you kind of see. He was
At the
he had-
funeral, yeah.
He had Morgan Stark, he had Peter Parker, so he was a father figure to them, and it was beautifully done. It was super simple, and Gwyneth Paltrow just sold it. But at the very end,
Man, we didn't even talk about him meeting his own father.
I know.
That's
It's
a whole-
we're
it's
so
just so
long. We're
much,
probably
yeah.
like 3 hours into it already. We
Yeah.
have our own Endgame, which
Him
is
him meeting his own dad was a really good part.
But yeah, that exchange was so powerful.
It was
And-
real. That wife is here. I know we've gone for.
We've
I-
rambled. I'm sure every review has probably done what we've
Yeah.
done. It's
Well-
so hard.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah.
We'll cut everything I said, everything Matt said, and everything Jared said, and there's no video.
With the snap.
Just a
Is
snap.
that going to get old anytime soon? I'll
Probably
just keep
not.
snapping.
So,
Most important part of the movie, Captain America goes back in time. He doesn't come back, and then all of a sudden he's sitting on the bench and he's old, so Chris Evans can't be Captain America anymore.
Nope.
Woo!
so he passes the shield, and it's a different shield. I don't know if you guys noticed.
I
But the
noticed
color
that
pattern
because-
was different?
Yeah, it was.
I
It was
wasn't
like
paying
2
attention.
silver lines. Yeah, 3 times, man. You
You
see,
were the guy.
Yeah.
And you were the one that put it in my idea years ago that Falcon would take up Captain America's
Yeah,
shield
'cause-
because I guess he might in the comics.
I was a little upset because
And
I wanted Bucky.
you wanted Bucky to have it.
Because Bucky's Captain America is so much ruthless than like Steve Rogers.
Punisher.
Yeah.
Captain Punisher.
I mean, I want to know that.
He's not that
far.
far.
Yeah.
But he's willing to go where Steve Rogers
Exactly.
doesn't.
Correct. It was one of my all-time favorites was that the eulogy speech that he kind of gives, where he's like looks at Morgan, and that's when I probably cried again. And he's like, "I love you 3,000." I'm like,
Oh my god.
I was just a mess. The funeral and then the
Happy sitting with his daughter.
yes to that
Oh my-
callback of the original Iron Man.
Burgers.
Yes.
You know your
that
dad
was
loved
cool.
burgers. I was like, that's what of all things, right?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
cool, and then he's like, you know your dad loved burgers, and I'm just sitting there, and I know the movie's like just about over. Just like it
Waterworks.
came out, like I wasn't like, but it just tears just started coming out. I was just like, I couldn't talk. I was
have no
like,
shame.
yeah, I was like, of all the things, because it was that first, just that one moment has to hit you, and I was
It
like,
is- it is
Jesus,
so-
I'm like, this has been 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, like Robert Downey's not going to be Iron Man anymore, so now I don't get to look forward to any Iron Man movies. I don't get to look forward to like this movie or that movie, or this is kind of like they're starting to do other things now
Yeah.
after this, and I was like, that's really sad. And then I was like, you know what? It's really not that sad because I can go back and watch Iron Man 1 whenever I want to, and that movie holds up.
Still.
Like,
Oh my
I can
God,
still go back and watch it, and I love it.
Yeah.
So this is like the finale, it's like to an extent for some things, but it also, I felt like this movie reminded me how good some of the past Marvel movies are, more than a lot of the other stuff that they've done, where it's like you're always waiting for the next one that's really good, and then you're disappointed, or it's just kind of dry, or whatever, you know, and everybody's split on it, everybody has these opinions, but it reminded me that whatever my favorite movies are from the past that have made these characters what they are in these movies, I can go back and watch those, and they're not going away.
They're timeless.
And that's part of why these comic book movies are good, because some of the principles and the lessons that happen in them and the relatability of the characters is timeless, and they'll hold up for a long time, you know.
I think that there's a golden age, and that this was it.
You think so?
You think I think in the context of there's a gold age, a silver age, and maybe like a bronze age. And this was the golden age, like roughly the first decade. I don't think this will ever be replicated, even if they do another 22. What we have witnessed is something that I think we can tell our grandkids about. We were there.
This is our Star Wars.
This is our Star Wars. The golden age of Star Wars was the first three. I guess you'd say the silver were the prequels, and then this new whatever you want to call it, brown age, the brown age, fucking the raisin stripe stage. But yeah, this was something that's so phenomenal, and it really took an emotional toll on me, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The whole journey did. The ups and downs, the mediocre movies, the really good ones. They all coalesced into this amazing Endgame, and we all talked about it. It wasn't a perfect ending, but God damn, it was. I think it was the best one we could have had. I don't know if it could have been better.
I enjoyed it, even though we lost Iron Man.
But anyways, with that, guys, if you're still with us, thank you for listening. It was a long rant.
It was a long wait.
It's a long wait. It was a long rant. There were so many cool things that I know for a fact we missed. So many great dialogue from Rocket and again Ant-Man and all that stuff. So
part two later, maybe, but
part two. Jesus Christ, man! We could probably split this video in two parts.
Maybe we should.
We are in part two. We're three.
Damn, yo, we're part 4 now. So this
quadrilogy.
So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm Fernando Benitez. You can find me on Instagram and Instagram and Twitter.
Probably best,
Yeah, at Fernie_Sanders.
With the sleek name.
Yeah. I haven't presented this in so long.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's really good to be in front of the camera again. I hope you guys do enjoy this.
Yeah, thank you.
Even though I'm not going to be in it at all.
That's
I'm Matt. You can find me. I'm on Facebook, Matt Schmid. But best way to get a hold of me is probably Instagram or Twitter. I post a lot more interesting stuff on there. And that is at MatticusFinch83. MatticusFinch 83.
He's just TT.
Jared Savall, mostly on YouTube, if you're not watching it. And I'm going to give out some spoilers right now real quick for my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yes,
nobody
do it,
really watches
please.
this, and if you watch to the end, then you deserve this. I came up with a new idea actually today for another Iron Man build. So I have the Iron Man rocket launcher gauntlet. I'm doing another one for the other arm. So I'm going to have 2 Iron Man weapons, and to do the other one, I have to build a helmet that goes along with it. So that's coming up in the future. It's a distant project because I'm I'm working on Aquaman currently. Then I have Archangel. I'm doing some Game of Thrones projects next week and possibly the week after that. But look forward to a really cool Iron Man build in the future eventually. So if you want to see something that nobody's ever done before that's a real actual Iron Man weapon that functions and is the most insane thing that I've built Iron Man wise to this point, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Other than that, you can look at pictures of what I'm doing in real time on Instagram, Jairus_All, Jairus.
Yeah, just a quick note here. It's a good blend of humor. He explains everything in detail, makes you feel like you can do it. So you know exactly what Dude, I'll get on your channel and watch for like 45 minutes. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm supposed to make dinner. I'm like, I'm supposed to be making dinner. I'm watching him make a wrench sword. And I'm like, but I think most of the people that sub to us are probably here because of you. But if you have not checked it out, again, channel is highly entertaining. There's just a great blend of humor, and crafting and all kinds of stuff. And I really like how you break it down.
Well,
explain-
I've got to do a blend of epic now with this Iron Man thing.
Yeah.
My idea that I had is going to be...
That's awesome. And I was recently in his video when we did this marshmallow helmet. I actually got to light his head on fire.
Yeah.
If you want to see that,
And put me out, too.
yes, I doused him.
Dude, this guy is giving you sweet bonus deals for $1 on Patreon.
Yeah.
Most people ask tiers 50, 20, 10s, 5s, 1s. He only wants the one, man. So get that $1, check out the
You
bonus
get to
material.
watch Fern lose his shit and swear a
And-
whole bunch at his helmet that he made right there.
It's hilarious, man. So,
You get to watch me lose my shit and swear a whole bunch at the Aquaman suit that I'm making.
and hopefully we'll be back with more Fortress of Solitudes for you. A lot of great things coming up. Godzilla's coming into us soon, and
Far From Home.
Far From Home, which
Far
is
From
the
Home
end
is
of Phase
another
3,
one. Yes.
and who else? Everything in between. We'll be out
Yeah.
there scouring the internet for pop culture stuff to bring to you, and
Yeah.
we can't wait to see you next time, guys.
So we'll be back. So this is the grandiose return? Not really. It wasn't that grandiose, but it was something. It was we had
we
Mediocre.
just got snapped back into
yeah.
existence,
So
so.
this is season 2. All right, see you guys.
guys.